Jamal Niaz here with the icon himself, David Arquette at Horror Rock and Wrestle Fest. You're an icon of horror and wrestling. What's it been like being back in Manchester? It's been a few years, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love coming to Manchester. The fans are so incredible here. And they just throw such a great event. So having it horror, rock and roll, and wrestling was such a cool combination. I love all of those genres.
And I'm not just saying this because you're here. I would say Scream is personally my favourite horror franchise of all time. I really don't think there's a weak link. When you go back to that first Scream film, obviously Wes Craven he tested that meta horror formula with New Nightmare a few years before. Yeah. Did you know it was going to become the huge commercial franchise that it is today?
We all knew it was a really great script and there's something special about it, but we never knew it would last this long and become such a sort of phenomenon. And to have Ghostface become one of like the iconic horror sort of killers is just such a cool thing to be a part of.
Would you have loved to have been Ghostface? Was there ever a time where you was pitching saying, listen, let me be the killer, man, come on?
I did. I pitched it a couple times during Scream 3 and Scream 4, but Wes Craven was strictly against it. It was like, never, Dewey would never be the killer. And I never really considered that once you're the killer, you typically die, so.
Yeah. It's true.
I would only want to be a killer if it was like a Jason thing. You could just keep going, yeah.
I mean, Scream 5, where your death did eventually come, that was so sad for the fans to see, and it was brutal. Did you want it to be as brutal as possible when you were speaking to the directors?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I was really shocked. They had given me the script, and I was like, whoa, Dewey's got a really great part in this one. And then I got to that part, and I was like, oh, no. And then I went to the end of the script to see if I came back, and I didn't. I was like, oh, wow. So, yeah, I really had no choice over it. But I did appreciate how they made it sort of like a very pivotal moment and really built up to it and gave him a good moment.
Would you ever, we've seen crossovers in horror plenty of times before, Alien and Predator, Freddy and Jason. If there was ever a way we could have Scream crossover with another horror franchise, you could see Ghostface go up against another horror icon. Who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Who would Ghostface go up against? And why? I mean, I don't know. Oh, I would say Freddy.
Yeah.
So they could combine the Wes Craven worlds.
100%. 100%. And what would you say personally your favourite horror films of all time if you had to pin it down to 5? It's tough, right? And you can't say Scream because you could just use like 5 out of the 6 Scream movies and you'd be absolutely correct, to be honest.
Oh, I would say Nightmare on Elm Street, Shining, Halloween, the original. 2 more. The original Haunting was really just a scary movie with just not, I don't know why it was so scary, but it was. And I don't know, can you say Lost Boys? Is that?
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And when Scary Movie was coming out, that was a great spoof, and it didn't do any harm to the Scream franchise at all. But sometimes when you see spoof films, like Austin Powers forced James Bond to rebrand, but it didn't do any harm to the Scream franchise. What was your reaction to that? And the spoof version of your character did end up being the killer, actually.
Yeah, I've been called Doofy for so many years. So
I bet you're sick of it. I'm not going to call you
Doofy. Right. It's okay. I met Sheridan, the actor who played it, and he's just a hilarious person. So it's been funny. I loved it. I thought it was really funny. I love the Wayne brothers and all the stuff that they do. So I was behind it and thought it was really funny. There's something about when something's big enough to be spoofed. That's a symbol in itself.
100%. It's a very big compliment. And wrestling, obviously, we've seen you a WCW champion. I know you're a huge wrestling fan. Are you still watching the product today? You still a big fan?
Yeah.
John Cena's heel turn. We got to talk about it, man. What do you make of it?
Oh, I can't believe it. I don't trust it. No, I think he's playing possum to come back and be the ultimate hero. But I love what Dominic's doing. I also love AEW and Scapegoat, what Jungle Boy's doing, and I'm a huge Dalton Castle fan. and RJ City, although we have a love-hate relationship.
There's a lot of niche ones, so you're a hardcore fan still, right?
Yeah, I love wrestling for sure.
And we have to talk about that experience in GCW. I know you've spoken about it a number of times. Just how, obviously, you wanted to prove yourself as a hardcore wrestler, and it was an incredible match, but also very, very scary with what happened at the end with Nick Gage. Just what were those days like after that match? Did you still feel a huge sense of achievement that you've portrayed that side of yourself to the wrestling audience?
Wow, it was a really life kind of changing experience. I mean, I was in the hospital for about a week after that. I got out the next day. I had him stitch it up at an emergency room. And then I went to a WWE event. And then halfway through, I started getting super dizzy. And then I was in the hospital for a week or so. It changed a lot. I had to ask myself, like, why am I beating myself up so much? But I did it for I didn't know exactly how sort of frowned upon from certain elements in wrestling, looked down on sort of that kind of wrestling. But it also is like the hardest core of fans. So there's an amazing deathmatch wrestler named Nick Mondo, who I'd seen his documentary just a few days before because I was studying up on sort of death matches. And he was there. And he came up to me at an AEW event a year later. He's like, dude, I've never seen what happened in that place. When you walked in, they hated you. They hated you more than I'd ever seen anybody. You had like super heel heat. They were just but legitimately hated my guts. And then by the end, they were just cheering like I'd won them over. I'd never seen it go from such an extreme to such an extreme. So that was a huge compliment to me.
100%. And was that the aim of the game? You wanted to show that different aspect of your wrestling game? Because like you said, it's such a niche audience, the hardcore wrestling crowd. A lot of the old school wrestling fans, they don't really appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of it. I think there's a place for all types of wrestling in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I knew it was going to be dangerous. I knew it would be extreme. Certain things happened where I wasn't really behind it. So I don't know. I learned a lot about it all. Would I do it again? I'm not sure. Would you wrestle again, even in a normal match? Wrestle again? I don't know. I love wrestling. So I guess you never say never in this business. As long as I could walk.
And you'd still, like you alluded to, you'd maybe even debate another hardcore.
You wrestle no matter what.
But you'd still maybe even debate another hardcore match, potentially.
I don't know about another hardcore match. I mean, I'm not scared of it. That's why, I don't know. I love entertaining the wrestling fans. That's really what it's always about.
Appreciate it. And final one, working with Wes Craven, absolute icon, maybe the biggest horror icon ever. Were there any defining chats with him that stuck with you forever in terms of just life and filmmaking?
Absolutely. I mean, he taught me so much. When I directed my first film, The Tripper, he gave me a list of films to watch, like Suspiria and, Phantasm and all these different horror films to give me a different idea, to give me some ideas on the genre and Don't Look Now, all these interesting films, and that helped a lot. But he was just such a amazing person and a mentor. He taught me a lot. He sat me down in Scream 2 and just gave me a real man-to-man talk and kind of was like, David, I want to see you get your stuff together because I really think you're gonna do great in this film, and I want to see you just thrive in this world kind of thing. So he's just a really sweet person, and I owe a lot to him.
What a legend. Well, I really appreciate the time and hope you have the best time the rest of the day here in Manchester. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Someone I want to speak to for a long time. Thank you very much.